Welcome. This is a late night version of Midday Sports, man. I got my
Looks like we've graduated to the dinner crowd.
the dinner crowd.
We're going from the lunch crew to the dinner crew.
Dinner crew. But man, I think it is time, man, to let go Mac Jones, man.
All right, I gotta pump the brakes on you a little bit here, and
It's not,
just
man.
just remind you, Mac Jones is in his. He just completed his second season.
Mhm.
Are we fair enough to that? The year prior to this, he was runner-up for Rookie of the Year.
I understand that though,
I
man.
mean, this is classic. All right, I know Patriots fans haven't been in this situation in a while. We didn't make the playoffs. We need to assess blame. I just want to go through some of these because I
Okay.
was looking them up before. I just want to go through some of these numbers here.
Well,
Mac Jones in his rookie season threw for almost 4,000 yards. Threw for almost 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. This season, he threw for 3,000, almost 3,000 yards. It was like 29.98, something like that.
mhm.
Almost threw for 3,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Or no, he had 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. Now, what changed between this year and last year? There was a big change.
What do you think, Josh McDaniels? What you?
Josh McDaniels, an offensive coordinator, went to Las Vegas, and the Patriots thought the hubris of the front office and more the head coach thought, you know what, we can get anybody to come in here and be the offensive coordinator. We can get anybody to run the system. And they brought in Matt Patricia, a defensive coordinator, to be the offensive coordinator. And look what happened to Mac Jones. Not to mention injuries this season. So there's a lot that played into Mac Jones. Does that mean he's not replaceable? No. And anybody in the NFL is replaceable.
But we gotta get to the point of he does not fit the modern day NFL landscape as a quarterback. He's not.
Wait. So the modern day quarterback changed in a year?
Changing the year.
Did not change.
Let me tell you why.
Quarterback is played did not
Beats,
change. It did not change from last year to this year.
Beats,
It did not change.
let me tell you why. Right now, who you think is ranked out of the AFC East? Where does Mac Jones finish in the AFC East quarterback wise? Two?
Oh well. Wait. There's a caveat to that. Are we counting concussion or?
You gotta count concussion.
All right. Well, if you're counting Tua, then he's third. In the AFC East, you're going to put him above Kyle. You're going to put him below Kyle Wilson? No, you're not.
Okay.
No, you're not. So
How about
comparing him to you're comparing him to Josh Allen, who is in the top 5 of, and you could say top 3 of the quarterbacks. Then you have Miami with Tua and Mac Jones and Tua. You go back to last year, they were kind of comparable.
Beats froze.
Here, people say Tua may play. Tua's not playing again this year. He may never play football again based on the concussions that he's had. So in that aspect, the Patriots, Mac Jones, yeah, he could easily be the second best quarterback in that division. And look, like I said, all right, let's take the premise of all right, the Patriot, you're the Patriots, you're the Patriots guy because you're the fan.
Mhm.
You say, all right, let's get rid of Mac Jones. All right, let's just take a look at teams that are not in the playoffs right now.
Mhm.
Or not even. I was looking at this before. So this is how I want to approach this. All right. So you're going to trade him. First off, what are you looking to get back for? What are you looking to get back for Mac Jones?
I'll take a 2 and a 3.
A 2 and a 3. All right.
2 and a 3.
So you're gonna
maybe 3 picks. I think the perfect place for him be Houston. Houston Texans.
So a 2 and a 3. I'm trying to.
A 2 and a 3.
I gotta look back. Let's see. I mean, the research that has to be done on this. You have to see what kind of guys went for a 2 and a 3. I really don't see. I really don't see. I don't know who is giving up. Who's giving up a 2 and a 3 who will get Mac Jones. So you have the Houston Texans who need a quarterback, but they're drafting at number 2 this year. They're probably taking a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're probably going to draft a quarterback. And if I'm the Houston Texans, if I'm the GM there, I'm not giving up a second and third round pick for Mac Jones when I can draft Bryce Young at number 2. Yeah, I get the unknown of a college guy, but I also can keep my second and third round pick, and I get a guy who I look at as having equal talent. So I don't think the Texans are involved. The Cardinals are not giving up on Kyler Murray, so they're out. The Indianapolis Colts, they don't have the capital to make trades.
What about the Jets?
Would you trade? You would trade Mac Jones within the division?
I would. If the buck is right, I would.
Yeah, that's the difference. The Jets are not giving you
a second and 3.
The Jets are not giving you top dollar for Mac Jones.
They need one. You see, we all know what Zach Wilson is.
Yeah, but the Jets would have to. I mean,
he's Ben Simmons of QB play.
At that point, if I'm the Jets, I'm not giving you a 2 and a 3. I'll give you Zach Wilson. I'll give you Zach Wilson and some complimentary picks. But
the Raiders make sense. The Raiders make sense. The Raiders make sense.
The Raiders is an interesting option. Because if I'm the Raiders, I want to get him back with Josh McDaniels. So the Raiders is an interesting option. But again, the Raiders are right there. The Raiders are probably looking at a position where they can't draft a quarterback where they sit right now. So the Raiders is an interesting option, but there's rumors. There's rumors as of today, as of 5 minutes ago, somebody on CBS just posted the Raiders are very close to bringing in Tom Brady for next year. And nobody wants to say anything because Tampa Bay is still in the playoffs. But the desired location is to reunite with Josh McDaniels. And Las Vegas seems like a place that Tom Brady may land for next year. So if you're the Raiders, do you want to give up a 2 and a 3 to get Mac Jones if you're going to bring Tom Brady in? So the Raiders.
I'm saying that, Deets. If that happens, I'm saying this right now. Tom Brady might throw for 50 TDs.
Mm-hmm.
With Devontae Adams.
Tom Brady and Devontae Adams with Josh Jacobson in the backfield. That offense is immediately stoked. And then guess what? Then you have the Raiders. Then you have You have so much going on with the. You have Devontae Adams playing with an actual Hall of Fame quarterback, not one that he actually said, "Oh, Derek Carr's got Hall of Fame potential." No. All right, so the Raiders are an option. Atlanta. I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have the cap. I don't know if they have the draft capital to do it. They might with the trading of Matt Ryan. So Atlanta could be an option.
But
are they sold on Desmond Ridder? That's the interesting part.
I'm going with Desmond Ridder though, man. I think he's going to be a.
I love Desmond Ridder. Loved him in Cincinnati. Loved the way he progressed this year. Is the way rookies progress. He started on the bench behind a veteran, learned, came in, and when he came in, did a pretty decent job at the end of the year. So I think he's earned the chance to be given a shot. So I don't think Atlanta would make any moves. Carolina, we know Carolina has the draft capital after trading for Christian McCaffrey, but the question would be: Does Carolina want to squander that on taking on Mac Jones?
Give me DJ Moore. I'll take DJ Moore.
If they were going to trade DJ Moore, they would have done it during the regular season when they were trying to tank.
Give me DJ. I'll take Moore.
I'm pretty sure they're sold on whoever we have playing quarterback. At least he has somebody to throw to.
Give me JC Horn. I'll take Horn.
JC Horn, and again, Carolina's high on JC Horn. They used a very straight, and shout out to Jay Spivey. He's been on this since they drafted JC Horn. They wasted a lot of draft capital on JC Horn.
Well,
I don't think they're going to sell on JC Horn right now because I think they project him as being a guy that can lead their secondary. The Eagles move in there.
No.
The Eagles move in there. They're not trading for a quarterback.
What about the Skins?
Tennessee Titans, the Washington Redskins are on the list. I think the most interested team would be what happens with Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers decides to retire, the Packers would have a big need, and the Packers would be the ones I think you would want to talk to because that would be a team that you could get in with. Like I said, you realize the Texans have 2 picks in the top 10.
I know.
The Texans have 2 picks in the top 10, but again, I think they're dead set on taking Bryce Young with that second pick. That eliminates them trying to trade for a quarterback.
This is what I really want, Deeks. I know this is crazy. You got
to figure out the need out. You got to figure out who's in need and what can you get. What can you possibly get?
I want a mobile quarterback, and guess who I want? Because I know he's going to be available.
Who?
Stetson Bennett. He's going to be available. He's not going top 10.
No, he's not going top. No, he's not going top
Probably
10.
Third rounder. Maybe third or second.
I mean, I haven't. I've just begun my draft prep. He's probably. I mean, hold on. Let me get the book here. Let me get the book and look at this here.
I'm telling you, I really think he could be. I'm sorry to say, he might not have the arm like that man in Buffalo, but I think he's like a great value Josh Allen. He showed it in the national championship game.
4, 5. You're looking at probably the Stetson Bennett is probably the 6th. He's probably 7th. He's probably one of the 7th or 8th on the quarterback list. So you could get him, but yeah, you said a mobile quarterback.
He's mobile.
Stetson Bennett ain't a mobile. He's not a mobile quarterback.
He's more mobile than Mac Jones.
Well,
Mac Jones moves like
he's about as mobile as Mac Jones. Now,
stronger though.
Mac Jones was immobile this year because of injury. Remember, he had a knee injury against Green Bay that forced him out of that game.
What about where do you see? I know this is off the topic, but it's my show, so
yeah.
Where do you see Richardson going from Florida?
From Florida right now, I would put him as the third or fourth. I have him third or fourth quarterback. As far as guys that I like, guys on my list. I got Bryce Young. I got Bryce Young at the top. Bryce Young is far and above the top.
Over Stroud?
Absolutely. Bryce Young will be the first quarterback taken. He'll be the first quarterback taken and probably the second pick because unless the Bears find a way to move out, unless the Bears find somebody who wants to jump up and pay an enormous amount to get the top pick, that's the only way I see the Bears dropping out of there. The Bears are taking it. If you're the Chicago Bears and you don't draft an offensive lineman, everyone in the front office needs to be fired. If they don't take it and I said this on Snowman's show the other day, any offensive lineman, you take the best offensive lineman. I don't care what position he plays. I don't care if he plays center, guard, tackle, whatever you can get. Whoever you deem the best offensive lineman is. Right now, I have the center from Michigan as the best offensive lineman in this draft.
Hey, Davlo. Nobody want Jordan Davis, man.
Jordan Davis. That's going way far down the list. But as far as Anthony Richardson's concerned, Anthony Richardson he'll have to impress some people at the combine to move up. Guys that I like, I love Devin Leary from North Carolina State. If you as long as he got injured towards the end of the year, so NFL Combine, you check him out. As long as he passes the physical, that I would have Devin Leary as my number 2 quarterback. Coming off the board, Anthony Richardson's probably right in there at 3 or 4, depending on what he can do. If he can show accuracy, I would like him. The problem with him is he's a great offensive player, but he's so that Florida offense was atrocious. Even with him being such a great player, it was basically if he runs, you're good. But he was not able to push the ball down the field. So in the NFL, you have to be able to push the ball down the field.
What about where do you see Max Duggan after that performance? Where do you see him going?
Max Duggan, I don't think anything's changed for Max Duggan. I still think he's a third round guy. He's a guy that he definitely needs polish. He's a guy that struggled with accuracy the entire season. I mean, his inefficiencies were made up because Quentin Johnson is such a great athlete. He was able to make up. But you can go back. There are a couple plays. I mean, you can go to the national championship game. The ball where Quentin Johnson is sprinting halfway down the field. He's wide open, and Max Duggan overthrew him by about 5 yards. Well, where does the ball end up? Ends up in the safety from Georgia's hands, and that's how he throws a pick. You go to the Big 12 championship game on the goal line, throws a fade to Quentin Johnson, underthrows it, and the corner for Kansas State is able to intercept it in the end zone. So I think Max Duggan is going to be your quintessential, all right, we draft him, we have him as a backup, and we have him as, all right, we need to groom him a little bit before he can take over an NFL franchise. He's not a guy the way I look at the first round, when you have a first round pick, you are taking a guy that you can slot in right away. That day one, this is going to be a guy who's going to be able to take over our team. That's how I look at the first round. I don't look at it as being, all right, well, we need to just fill a position with a guy. No, if you're drafting, your first round pick needs to be a guy who's going to pay dividends as soon as possible. So that's why I think Max Duggan would be a perfect third, fourth round pick. Anybody would love to have Mac. I mean, how many teams needed to go to their backup quarterback this year? Almost all of them. He'd be a perfect backup in the NFL.
I'm just reading an article. It said, it's come from the Patriot.com. They're talking about Bill Belichick is looking for offense coordinator beginning next week. I think Kraft put the pressure on him. Kraft does not like losing money and not being in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Anybody with half a brain would look at that and say, that's exactly what I was saying when I came on. The problem was not with the quarterback. The problem is with the guy calling the plays. The offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia is a defensive coach. He's not an offensive coordinator.
No.
And I don't care how smart he is. I don't care if I don't care if he's a rocket scientist. He can't call offense.
No.
I don't need you to be the smartest guy on the field. I need you to be the smartest offensive coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind for him to slide back to either defensive line or back to defensive coordinator or analyst. But I kind of do. I like Steve. Steve is growing on me. Steve Belichick, he's growing on me a little bit. He's soaking up like a sponge. He definitely he's developed over the year. In his tenure coaching at New England. So I gotta give him props where props is due. And Gerard Mayo is doing lights out. I could see him being a head coach in a couple of years. Gerard's doing a good thing over there.
Yeah. Either one of those. I think the plan is just to keep Matt Patricia around the program so that eventually he can. I mean, this is a guy who already has the experience. I think. Yes, people are going to go, oh, look at his Detroit tenure. He didn't do anything. That doesn't matter. It's about getting the experience and having the experience. They want an experienced guy to come in there. So that's why they're going to keep Matt Patricia. That's why they were just finding a place for Matt Patricia to be. Because they want to keep Matt Patricia. They want to keep Mayo. They want to keep everybody on
Corey
that
Brown. But I feel like I'm hearing rumbles that the Texans looking to get rid of Larry Tuttle. I'll take that too. If it can make sense. And D-Hop, I know D-Hop is not really happy with this situation. I'll give a trade for D-Hop too. 31-year-old D-Hop. Give me that.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, what more do you want? I mean, DeAndre – anybody would trade for DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is in your top. He's got to be in your top 3. As long as he's healthy and not suspended, he's got to be in your top 3 as far as receivers in the league. As far as talent wise, now the question is, who is this guy? Who is DeAndre Hopkins underneath? I mean, there's a reason why the Texans were so willing to get rid of him. There's a reason for that. If he wants out of Arizona, there's a reason. There's a reason for that. So this guy is just he's not happy anywhere. He's not happy anywhere. So can you trust bringing him in and having him fit the mold? Having him fit the mold, have him play in the offense without being a hazardous person in the locker room. That I don't know. I've never worked with the guy. I've never talked to DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know him. All I know is his play on the field. His play on the field says he's untradeable, yet he wants to be traded a second time. That makes me question his mentality and his focus on the game. I mean,
But
you're talking about if DeAndre's requesting a trade from Arizona, you don't even know who the coach is going to be in Arizona yet. Why are you requesting a trade when you don't know what the regime is going to look like?
this is another question for you, Deets. With that, you saying that, do you see Cliff Kingsbury back in the NFL as offensive coordinator somewhere, or you think he's going straight back to college?
Anything's possible. Look, Cliff Kingsbury is a great offensive mind. To put him, I thought he was elevated I thought he was elevated too much to be the head coach when he got the job. So I wasn't shocked that they decided to move on from him. I was shocked that Arizona upended its entire roster has been basically around Cliff Kingsbury and his offense. And then they cut bait with him after one bad season. That doesn't make any sense. Cliff Kingsbury is a perfect college coach. And any of these college programs that have head coaching options, he's the perfect guy to bring in. One spot that would be very interesting, Mississippi State.
Ooh.
I mean, you're asking, you go from and again, we talk about it all the time, rest in peace, Mike Leach. But you go from Mike Leach to the ultimate disciple of Mike Leach, Cliff Kingsbury. Played under him, coached under him, basically runs the same kind of offense as Mike Leach. It would be almost the perfect match of, hey, we lost Mike Leach, but at least we get Mike Leach 2.0 here and see where you can go from there. That would be the initial landing spot. But yeah, offensive coordinator, the way the NFL is going, anybody would love to have him. We have to see how these other jobs play out. I firmly believe that Carolina is going to make a play for Buffalo's offensive coordinator,
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think Carolina is going to offer the head coaching job to Ken Dorsey. I firmly believe that he's got ties to the Carolina organization. They made him.
Come on, D's.
Carolina gave him his first job. They gave him his first coaching job. They were grooming him to be the offensive coordinator before he jumped ship to Buffalo. So now that there's an opening, he has a year of calling plays under the Bills. I firmly believe that's why they got rid of Matt Rule. We got rid of Matt Rule so we can make room to bring in a Ken Dorsey. I think that's going to be but I'm just saying, if that happens, there's now an opening at offensive coordinator in Buffalo. Cliff Kingsbury with Josh Allen, they're going to be throwing the ball all over the place. So it makes a perfect fit. It makes a perfect fit. It's a question of what does Cliff want to do? Does he want to be a head coach somewhere? If he wants to be a head coach, then he's going to go to college. Does he want to be an offensive coordinator? He could stay in the NFL and be an offensive coordinator. Or he could go to college, become an offensive coordinator and for a top-level program and be groomed, be back in the running for head coaching gigs 2-3 years down the road. Those are his options right now.
Yeah, man, that's stuff. But how another sidebar. What are you hearing about the transfer portal in college football and college sports in general? I'm hearing they're trying to limit the transfer portal now.
the NCAA, dear NCAA, go listen to my program from a year and a half ago when I told you this is what's happening with the transfer portal is a mess right now. And
2,000 kids, I think over 2,000 kids in the portal right now.
The key thing to do with the transfer portal, there has to be limitations on it. And you can't have a guy like Keaton Slovis. I love Keaton Slovis as a player. Loved him at USC. When he transferred to Pitt, I was like, okay, that's okay. But you can't have guys that play a year at Pittsburgh, start every game, and then transfers out to wherever the hell he went to before. You can't have guys transferring year in and year out. It has to be the transfer portal. There has to be limitations on it. And I've said that. I've said this from day one with the transfer portal. Like, there has to be, I would almost say, the reverse rule, the reverse of the red shirt rule. And the red shirt rule in college football is if you play in less than 4 games, then a team can redshirt you. The reverse of that is if you start in 4 or more games, you can't hit the transfer portal. Like, you can transfer, but you have to transfer regularly where you have to sit out a year until you play again. That's the fair way to do it. The other competent version of this is you can use the transfer portal once. You can't use it multiple times because that just makes things absolutely insane. Like, just have guys pick a team and stick with it. Because Pittsburgh gets Keaton Slovis. They're like, all right, we got a starter for 2 years. Nope. He decides to transfer out after starting every game for you. What more do you want us to do? What more do you want? Well, you knew what you were getting when you went there. So I don't understand.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot, man. You see all these big time programs. You see a lot of players are transferring from Georgia right now, corners, tight ends, going to other places, and they just won a national championship.
Yeah, guys want to play. Guys want to play, and you know the thing is, guys sign up. They sign on the dotted line as juniors in high school, not understanding that things are going to change in that freshman year, and things change when you're not the guy anymore. You're just a part of a bunch of guys. And guys say, I don't want this. I want to go somewhere where I'm the guy. I'm playing. I don't want to be groomed for 2 years before I start. I want to start now. And that's a hard thing. The transfer portal is it's a good mechanism, but I think it's been overplayed. It's been used to a point where people are taking advantage of it, and the NCAA needs to put a stop. They need to put a stopgap to it to say, all right, it's a good thing, but we need to stop the abuses of it. And the abuse of it is guys who transfer multiple times. It's ridiculous.
Like, it definitely is getting ridiculous. But I think it's a reason why they want to limit it. You know what I mean, for certain schools. And like I told somebody the other day in the comments, the SEC is premium, and I know the powers that be didn't like that ass whooping that happened on Monday. They wanted another SEC team in that national championship, Dees.
They wanted 2 teams in there. They wanted either an SEC team or they wanted a Big Ten team.
Yeah.
It's all right. So when you go to the meat market,
Mm-hmm.
all right, the SEC is top of the line, is top filet. That's your filet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the filet mignon. the Big Ten is like USDA choice, like that it's not quite the fillet, but it's decent. It's a decent second. And then you have the rest of college football, because the rest of college football is basically, I mean, is basically just your standard plank steak.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like the non-power 5, which is like ground chuck, which is sometimes they can throw anything in there. And then you have what's left, the lower tier programs, which are like hot dogs, which is basically whatever's left we just throw in.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way college football plays out, and that's what they wanted. The powers that be wanted Georgia, Michigan. They set it up to have Georgia, Michigan in the final game. They didn't get it, and they got what And
how do you think that would have played out?
I think it would have played out pretty much the same.
That's what I'm
I think
saying.
it would have played pretty much this. I think it would have played pretty much the same way. I don't think Michigan would have even touched Georgia, especially with Blake. I mean, the difference with Michigan was Blake Corum wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
With Blake Corum there, they probably run the deal, and then they probably keep it close for a while with Georgia. But Georgia would have eventually done what they did. It wouldn't have been 65-7.
I think the worst thing that could happen to Georgia was getting punched in the mouth by Ohio State. I think
that was the worst. Yeah, that was the best thing for him.
Did you see what he said to the team before that game, Kirby? It was so many explicit words.
Can you tell who Kirby coached under? Could you tell? He sounded just like Nick Saban. It was a Nick Saban clone, almost, and that's pretty much where Kirby Smart is right now. Kirby Smart has jumped into that discussion of it's Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, and now Kirby Smart as
how short is Jimbo's leash this year coming?
I don't think he has a leash at Texas A&M. I think if you're Texas A&M, you got to be thinking about 20. You're not even thinking about next year. You're not even thinking about 2023. You got to be thinking about 2024. You have to have your team ready, because there's one thing that you cannot do. You cannot lose to Texas in their debut in the SEC. If you're Texas A&M, you cannot lose that. You cannot lose that game. You cannot lose that game. So I think Jimbo is safe until that game happens. Until that happens. So I think the leash is pretty long for Jimbo Fisher, but I think nationally, Jimbo's obviously going to get killed nationally, because he attacks Nick Saban, and the national media loves Nick Saban and will defend him all the way. But for anybody that's been following college football, what Jimbo Fisher said about Nick Saban is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Whether you care about it or not is a different story. Like, I don't care about recruiting. Like, let them recruit whoever they want. Like, go ahead, do what you got. I don't care about recruiting lists. I don't care where teams rank. I want to see guys on the field. When I see guys on the field, then I'll assess them. But Jimbo was right. They dominate the recruiting. There's a reason for that. And Jimbo is trying to get Texas A&M into that market. And it's going to be a lot harder when Texas gets into the SEC. It's going to be a lot harder to pull that card, because right now A&M is the one who gets to go to all those Texas recruits and say, hey, come play SEC football. Don't get bogged down in the Big 12. Come play with the big boys. Well, in 2 years, you're not going to have that, because Texas is going to have that. And talk to anybody from Texas. It's Longhorns and then everybody else. It's Longhorn football. That is a Longhorn football state. So if a top athlete has a choice of, well, do I go to A&M or do I play for the Longhorns? They're going to choose the Longhorns 99% of the time. And Jimbo knows that, so he knows he's got to get it in now while he can.
Man, I think people just gonna be lined up at the stadium trying to play with Arch, man. Arch Manning, and the man is gonna give a heavy donation to Texas. So I think they're gonna be lined up, man, to make sure he succeeds in college.
Exactly. Arch is gonna, I'm surprised Sam Ellers hasn't hit the transfer portal yet. Because the minute Arch Manning steps foot on campus, he's the starting quarterback. I don't care if he's a true freshman. He's going to be the starting quarterback. So I was reading a review of Texas, and they said, oh, Sam Ellers has to lead this offense. I was like, he ain't leading nothing next year. He's going to get tossed aside as quickly as they can to get to Arch Manning.
Well, that running back is coming out, right?
Bijan Robinson?
Yeah, BJ coming out.
Yeah. If he doesn't come out, I got to question who's in his ear, because look, it's different between quarterbacks and running back is completely different. Completely. Running back, one Bijan Robinson, if he comes out, he's the guaranteed number one running back taken on the board. You only have so many hits in your body as a running back. You need to get to the NFL as quick as possible. And we're seeing that with Josh Jacobs. Remember, Josh Jacobs only played half a year at Alabama, won a national championship, and was like, I'm going to the NFL. And everybody said, oh, who is this guy? The Raiders took him, and they were like, oh, his rookie year wasn't as phenomenal. Well, how's Josh Jacobs doing now? You need to get into the NFL as quick as possible as a running back.
But we all know this, those deets. Alabama is running back U too. They're DBU, running back U, linebacker U, DLU. Like, that's their, that's their specialty, running backs. Look how many running backs they put in the league and were stars. Mark Ingram had a run. You know what I mean? We can say Trent Richardson was a bust. Okay. Eddie Lacy was a bust. But Derrick Henry's one of the best. Sean Alexander back in his day was one of the best. We can go on and on about how many running backs Alabama produce. You know what I mean?
Alabama's right there, but it's running back.
Especially receivers right now too, and receivers right now too.
Running back you is always going to be Georgia. It's always going to be the Bulldogs.
Who they put out lately? Except for Swift.
DeAndre Swift.
And Chubbs.
DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb. They had 3 running backs taken last year. Just last year, they had 3 running backs drafted to the NFL. But running back always starts with Herschel Walker. Yeah. Always is going to start with Herschel Walker. That's always going to be your go back to. But Georgia has put out a lot. And Marshall, the kid from this year, he's going to be a top level pick.
Also, I got to put the Sooners up there too. The Sooners too. You got to give Sooners too. Back in the day.
Besides Adrian Peterson, who else you putting in there? It's not even close. It's not even close.
Well, they had somebody. I forgot the guy's name. Not
It's not
Mark.
even close. I mean, the
Damn.
last running back they had drafted was Pirine, and he's the backup in Cincinnati.
Yeah, P. Ryan. Damn, you're right.
I mean,
Damn.
that's really yeah. Oklahoma, they have Adrian Peterson, and that's about it. And you could when you go back in the day, you can go all the way back to Marcus Dupree,
Yeah,
the best that never
nasty.
was.
It was nasty.
The best that never was.
Tore his knee up.
Was great, but all of that happening. I mean, the only real comparable to the Georgia and Alabama, the only comparable, the U is there.
Penn State,
and Ohio State.
Yeah,
you got to go back to Ohio State because Ohio State has the legacy pick and
back to back Heisman. You ain't never gonna see that again with Archie Griffin. You ain't never gonna see that.
Well, yeah. I wasn't even talking about Archie, but I was gonna say the legacy pick of Eddie George.
Yeah,
and then as far as transitioning to the NFL, Eddie George would be the top of that Ohio State list, but then you go down the list of all the other guys, Robert Smith. You go to Robert Smith, you go to Zeke Elliott, you go
what about the never was?
J.K. Dobbs.
What about the never was? You gotta say his name.
Oh, Maurice Clarett. One of my favorite college players of all time, Maurice Clarett.
You definitely got to put his name in there.
Yeah, you throw him. I'm talking NFL success though. When you're talking NFL success,
your boy
Eddie George, Robert Smith, Zeke, Dobson. They got a lot going, and the kid they have now, Trayvon Henderson, he'll be a top level pick next year because he was too banged up this year, but he'll be a top level pick when he comes out. So they're close on that running back list. But it goes Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Penn State.
I was about to say that too. DeMarco Murray, he's from Oklahoma. He played at Oklahoma.
DeMarco.
He had a good stint with y'all, man.
And he had a good 2 to 3. He had a good 2 or 3 years. He had a good year with us. He had a couple good years with the Eagles after, but not really much. Not really much more. I mean, not really nothing you're going to write home about. I mean, that Miami team from the 90s was just so good. The running backs that came out of there, McGahee, Edgerrin James, his brother, Edgerrin James' brother, Frank Gore.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many. That's where Miami built their roster off of those running backs, and built their success off those running backs. And
Portis was all right too, man.
Clinton Portis was great. Clinton Portis was great.
Forget about Clinton Portis, man. He had a nice little solid career, man.
He had a great career. He was involved in probably the best trade of all time.
Great.
As far as the best trade, as far as both teams got, Champ Bailey and Clinton Portis, both teams got the bet. No team got the better in that trade. They both were as great as they could be for both teams.
I only can imagine what that could have been, though, man. A long tenure of Champ Bailey and Sean Taylor, man. I wish I could have saw that a little longer, man.
Oh my God. How about that?
That could have been the best tandem of all time, man.
That secondary would have been lights out.
Because D'Angelo was still kind of D'Angelo a little bit. He wasn't.
They probably wouldn't have brought D'Angelo Hall.
You don't think so?
I don't think they would have brought D'Angelo Hall in. Because D'Angelo Hall, when that was happening, he was with the Falcons. And then after they made the Champ Bailey trade, that's when they went out and got D'Angelo Hall after that. So it was like, all right, we're going to trade Champ Bailey, but we're going to bring in D'Angelo Hall. That's how that all played out. So I don't think you would have had all three of them. I don't think you would have had the three of them together.
That would have been nasty though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a Pro Bowl. That's a Pro Bowl level corner. You're talking Pro Bowl corners. 2 Pro Bowl corners and a Pro Bowl safety. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup right there.
Pretty good. Man, where do you see Will Anderson going, man?
Will Anderson, and I'm looking at.
I would love to see him at Seattle. That would be my first pick for him. I would love him seeing him at Seattle because they're missing a thumper in that Seattle defense. They're missing that.
Anyone would take him. Again, I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it in depthly, but as far as just entering the season and off what I saw this year, Will Anderson is number 2 on my board as far as players. If I were the Arizona Cardinals at number 3, I would take Will Anderson. They need as much defensive help. The offense they've retooled that offense perfectly. Now, what happens with DeAndre Hopkins?
I think that'd be a good move too, man. But
that's a different story. But they have neglected the defense for years now. If I'm the Arizona Cardinals and looking at the division they play in, yeah, Kyle Shanahan, you need to have defensive guys because Kyle Shanahan's not going anywhere. Sean McVay is not going anywhere. Well, if I'm the Cardinals, I have no problem taking Will Anderson at number 3.
But will it happen? We never know. But Deets, I appreciate you coming on and giving me your time, man. What do you have coming up this week, man?
Absolutely. Well, we were gonna do a show tonight, but I after the way that game played out, it was just it's like I've been telling everybody there. We were gonna do this like breakdown. We were gonna do the long breakdown all the significant plays of that. Take each drive and break down the most significant play. It turns out the most significant drive of the game was Georgia getting off the bus. Because that game was, from start to finish, was Georgia just absolutely. So that kind of threw us into a monkey wrench into what we wanted to do on 5th down. So Saturday, we got plenty of time to prep for Saturday. And we'll get you set up for the playoff games. I think I'm going to go at 1 o'clock. I'm going to shoot for 1 o'clock as a start time. We'll do we'll take each game, and I'm already in the process of breaking it down. We'll tell you where each what team is better on each front. We'll say, all right, defensive line, is Seattle better than San Francisco? Who's got the advantage on each, and that'll tell you who's got the advantage. There is one thing I want to tell you, Rod, because this is interesting in my breakdown. Now, by all accounts, Monday night's game, by all accounts, the Dallas Cowboys should win that game running away. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary, wide receivers, offensive line, running back, all check marks in the Dallas Cowboys arsenal.
Playoff Brady's different though, man.
But you want to know why Tom Brady is the greatest of all time?
Go break that down.
Because despite all of that, Tom Brady is still the quarterback, and every Dallas Cowboys fan should be absolutely deathly afraid of that Tampa Bay team. Even though they dominate every other position on the field. No, because that guy's at quarterback. Tampa Bay not only is not a dog, I'll tell you right now, I haven't even looked at it, but I'm picking Tampa Bay. I don't even care what the spread is.
Oh man.
I don't even care what the spread is. I'm taking Tampa Bay, and I'm not looking back.
Like I just really, I'm just at the point where I can't bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs, man.
No,
Especially
exactly.
7-0 against the Cowboys.
Yeah,
That's
you
all the
can't
proof
bet.
of the pudding.
Can't bet it. I've been burnt way too many times by Tom Brady. I'm not betting again. I'm not betting against Tom Brady in a playoff game.
And
But that's just a little preview of what we're gonna do.
how far do you see this Brock Purdy Disney Channel movie going to, man? You think they can go to the Super Bowl? You think they can beat Philly with Brock Purdy?
I don't. It's gonna be how it plays out. I don't think they can go. I don't think Brock Purdy can go into Philly and pull out a victory over the Eagles.
I just want to see him in a shootout, man. We saw something close to maybe with the Raiders, but at the end of the day, I knew they was going to beat the 49ers were going to take that win, man. I just think, you know what I mean? I don't think Jerry Stidham was going to get him over the top.
I would love to see Brock Purdy versus Darius Slay and that Eagles defense and that Eagles secondary. That will tell you whether Brock Purdy is at a level where he can play. Because I'm not gonna lie, I've been told that secondary, I've been told Darius Slay, if Darius Slay gets shredded up by Brock Purdy, then Eagles fans, you got issues.
I don't think so, man. I think my key is Long's Maddox healthy. And they got like a slew of defensive linemen they can bring in and out.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If Brock Purdy can shred that defense, then it will prove that he's on that level. Because that's where I think the trouble would be. But if again, you have to tell me where he's going as far as can he get to the Super Bowl? Could he beat Tampa Bay to get to the Super Bowl? Yeah. Could he beat the Dallas Cowboys to get to a Super Bowl? Yeah, he could. Could Brock Purdy beat the Giants to get to a Super Bowl? Yeah, he could. And those are all the teams that he would have to play in the NFC in the NFC Championship game. So the one caveat is I don't see him going to Philly and doing that on the road in Philadelphia in a championship game.
I just have so much faith in that Philly offensive line, where they got a tackle who's 6'8" and got one of the best centers in the league named Jason Kelce. I have faith in that. You know what I mean? That offensive line of the Eagles. 49ers only got one good offensive lineman, and his name is Trent Williams, who's sometimes always hurt. So they don't got much of an offensive line. You know what I mean? So
the Eagles, what the Eagles can do, the Eagles can get so much interior pressure.
Oh my God.
They can get so much interior pressure without blitzing, which is what is so important to a quarterback, because you can blitz a quarterback from the outside, but what do? They step up in the pocket and throw a clean pass. Well, if you've got the two studs, Jordan Davis and
I like Reddick too.
And the Hall of and you got the Hall of Famer in there,
Fletcher Cox. You got both of them. If both of them are collapsing the inside of the pot, well, there's nowhere to go. And they got a nasty run stopper named Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't even know they had Ndamukong Suh till the
nasty run.
I think last week I saw him. I was like, wait a minute, they have Ndamukong Suh as well. Jesus.
I think they got Hargrove, the guy that used to play for the Chargers, I believe. Yeah, they got that defense is pretty stout, man.
Yeah.
And the worst play they can do to you, you can let them get to that 10-yard, 20-yard line. They do that QB pass, it's over with, man. You let Jason Kelce lead block, it's over with. It's over with.
Well, Jason, and the thing about Jason, here's the thing about Jason Kelce, and he's the reason why I said at the beginning of this when I was talking to the Chicago Bears, you take the best offensive. You're telling me you wouldn't draft Jason Kelce? Like, you know, because you're gonna hear this. You're gonna hear this all throughout draft. You're gonna hear this all throughout the draft up until April. You're gonna hear analysts come on, and you're gonna hear Todd McShay and Mel Kiper and all these guys come out and say, you can't draft a guard or center at number one. Why? Why can't you take the best player? If the best player happens to be a center and it's not a left tackle, take the best player, take the best offensive lineman you can get. And build your offensive line and say, all right, we have the best center. Now we'll go out and find somebody who can play left tackle. If we need to upgrade at tackle at some point, we will. But you take the best player. You don't just take a guy because he plays offensive tackle. If you're going to leave the best player on the board, I say this all the time. You're telling me you wouldn't draft Zach Martin in his draft? You wouldn't draft him? He was the best lineman. He was better than any of the offensive tackles that were taken. You wouldn't take Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce's become one of the best blockers in the NFL. He just happens to play center and not tackle. Mm-hmm. So if you're the Bears, you have to take an offensive lineman. And that's why I said at the beginning, I would take the kid from Michigan. The kid from Michigan is outstanding. Won the Outland Trophy Award, best offensive lineman. I don't think there's any doubt when you look at that Michigan team, how they moved the football. Everything they did revolved around the middle of the offensive line.
And I gotta say this. I gotta apologize to Bill Belichick. You know, I'm a fanboy, but I get a little emotional sometimes. I get delusional. Cole Strange was a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
Cole Strange was a good pick. I could see him maybe a couple years from now make a Pro Bowl team.
Yeah.
He's nasty. He's nasty.
You're never Bill again. Bill is fine with drafting these random guys and fine at drafting every position except for the position y'all need.
Kyle Duggar too. Look, he went to Division III to get
the one position y'all need. Bill can't find. He can't draft. He can't find a guy.
I think
even guys he brings, even free agents that he brings in.
Brought in
Devontae Parker. He brought in
Devontae Parker. Been balling. He's been balling, Deets. He was balling, Deets.
No, Devontae Parker when he was with Miami looked like he was a world beater.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, Devontae Parker stepped up the last couple games, but in Miami he looked like he was going to be a stud wide receiver.
Yeah.
To be and he comes into New England, and all of a sudden he can't catch. Comes to New England, all of a sudden he can't catch the ball.
But I think Taquan Thornton's gonna be all right for us, man. He can get better separation than N'Keal Harry. I give him that. He's way better than N'Keal Harry's for.
I think your guys to build around are Thornton, but the New England Patriots need to bring in a wide. They need to bring in a wide receiver.
Bring Quentin Johnson in. Oh, I even take Rugg from Ohio State. Give me that. I'll take a chance.
You would anybody would want Quentin. Quentin Johnson is 6'4", 220. 6'4", 220.
And also that boy from Tennessee too, man. Jalen
Hyatt.
Yeah, Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, I love Jalen Hyatt. I was looking at some of the guys. That wide receiver I think is going to be huge in this draft coming up.
Every 30-something teams need a good receiver.
A good receiver, but
another receiver.
The guy to really look at, and you mentioned Jalen Hyatt. You mentioned we talked about Quentin Johnson, who's 6'4", 212. Wide receiver.
You can't teach that.
Can't teach that. But another guy to look at another guy that's going to make his way up the board and he's going to flash at the combine is keep an eye on this name, A.T. Perry, wide receiver from Wake Forest. 6'5".
Damn.
You can't.
That's Megatron.
You can't teach 6'5", 210.
Oh, you can't teach that.
He can go up and get the ball. He's gonna be a steal in this draft.
What about tight end? Who you got number one tight end before we get out there?
Number one tight end is my guy. I watch him all year at Notre Dame, Michael Mayer. He is as unguardable as you can get at the tight end position, and he can block.
Where do you see him going? Where do you see him going to?
Tight end. It's such a hard position. It's so hard to say. All right, this is where guys are going to go. I don't do my draft that way. My draft prep is I tell you who I would draft given if I have total control of that team.
Where can you see?
Where would I see him go? I would take Mayer. I would take Mayer in the top 10.
Damn.
I would take him in the top 10. I think he's one of the top 10 offensive weapons.
That's Kyle Pitts level right there.
And people could say, people say you don't draft a tight end. Really? That you wouldn't draft Rob Gronkowski if you could. You wouldn't.
Thank you, Bill.
You wouldn't draft Travis Kelce if you could. Travis Kelce's the best weapon Kansas City has. And guess what position he plays? Tight end. So to me, it's not about all right, this guy plays a certain position. It's we need to get the best player in here, and then we can figure out how to use him.
And that's what I told
Michael Mayer is that guy. You can spread him out wide. You could put him in the slot. You can line him up with his hand in the dirt. That's why he makes such a big option for me.
That's why I told somebody that today. A guy at my job, I told him, man, I said, if Kittle was anywhere else, he would have some crazy numbers. Kyle Shanahan doesn't use him properly. I feel like in that offense, I think he should get the ball more.
I think George Kittle should get the ball as much as anybody on that as much as anybody on that offense. And he doesn't. But what he doesn't have, what happens? All right. So what happens with tight ends is with tight ends, you have to have a rapport with your quarterback because tight end is not. What we can talk about. All right, tight end. In an offense, you have to know where your tight end's going to be. Your tight end is never going to get a free release off the line of scrimmage. So they're always going to be in a different spot than where they're supposed to be. Like that, yeah, they can run certain routes and whatever, but they're always going to be a little, you're going to have to release a little bit wide because the defensive end gets hands on you. Has to cut inside when he's breaking on an out route because of the linebackers beneath him. So that rapport has to be there with a quarterback. You can't just come in and be like, all right, Brock Purdy coming in, working with Kittle for 2 weeks and know where Kittle's going to be when I drop back and do most tight end routes are option routes where it's, the tight end runs up and he says, all right, they're in a zone, so I'm just going to sit here. Or, all right, it's man-to-man coverage. I'm going to run away from the defense. Those are options that the tight end has to make, and the quarterback and the tight end have to be on the same page for that. That doesn't happen in a week. It doesn't happen by just putting them on the field. You have to know where you're tight. You have to know that. You do that from August training camp until the end of the season. That report does not. It doesn't get built up in 1, 2, 3 weeks. Those are months and months of working together where you know where your guy's going to be. That's why I think he's underutilized right now because you've had 3 different quarterbacks this year, and you saw with Garoppolo, Kittle was getting the ball a lot because Garoppolo's worked with Kittle. He knows what Kittle's thinking. They're on the same page. Brock Purdy probably never. He's the 3rd string quarterback. He probably never worked with George Kittle a day in his life. Until they were like, yo, you're QB1. Here's your tight end. And he was like, oh, okay. So that's why he's not going to get the play until they get a rapport. And it takes time. You can't do that in season. In season, you maybe have 1 or 2 practices a week.
Yeah, you're definitely right, man.
I mean, that's how it works. That you think about it. You play on Sunday. Monday's a day off. Tuesday is usually walk through and game plan installation. That's Tuesday. Wednesday is probably your day that you get full padded practice. Thursday is you're closing up. Friday is you're pretty much getting ready for the game.
That's why
Saturday is end of the game walkthrough, and then Sunday you're playing again. So these guys have only worked together probably once or twice in the 3 weeks they've been together. Probably they only worked together 3 times.
That's why I said this, man. Jimmy G's fate is sealed, man. They don't need him. You got a cheaper option for a backup quarterback. Name is Brock Purdy.
Oh yeah, Jimmy G. You know Jimmy G is gone after this year. The question is where does he end up? And
that's the biggest question.
And again, and before we go, I want to address Deb. Look, Deb, I'm not giving you. I'm just giving not what we said in the chat. I'm only pointing it out because when you said we should have kept Jimmy G over Tom Brady, that's insane. That's insane. Knowing that Tom Brady played in 2 straight Super Bowls for y'all.
Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a...
Like, I had to do the Dr. Phil in that. Man,
I mean, to go back to when Jimmy G got traded. It's not like Jimmy G got traded like 3 years ago. Jimmy G got traded in 2017. And the Patriots had a run since then. Tom Brady's been to 3 Super Bowls since then.
And nobody liked him in the locker room. You can look up clips. Julian Edelman said it himself. Jimmy G lacked toughness. Quote unquote. That's what he said.
It's not. And if you had traded, so the trade of Jimmy G was, do we take Jimmy G or Tom Brady? And you take Tom Brady. You take Tom Brady 999 times.
I'm taking Tom Brady now. I'm not
out of 1,000. Out of 1,000 times, you take Tom Brady every single time.
Could you imagine, Deets, if he never left, how many more Super Bowls you probably could have grabbed?
Well, I mean, if he had never left, y'all probably if he doesn't leave, the Patriots are still where the Patriots are. You know, the rise of the Buffalo.
Maybe 2. I think we could have gotten another 2.
The landscape never changes. The landscape never changes. The Bills aren't where the Bills are if Tom Brady's still around.
No, that would even be a hot place to go. In the NFC, like that would even be a hot place to go, man. Let's be real. But I appreciate you, D's, coming on to a late night. What you said, a dinner time, midday sports with the lunch crew, the dinner squad, whatever you want to go with.
Absolutely. Well, you know, Monday we'll have the preview of the playoff game, the only playoff game I care about.
Exactly.
Monday we'll do the lunch crew for that, but like I said, I was only giving Dev a hard time because I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, y'all made 2 Super Bowls. Y'all would trade 2 Super Bowls to have Jimmy G on your team right now? Like current Jimmy G on your team? No, you're not making that. You're not doing that. Come on.
Jimmy G crumbles and crumbles like a gingerbread cookie under pressure, man. And it's the proof is in the. You look at all the film, the NFC Championship game, the Super Bowl he made too. He did all right, but
the ones that both Super Bowls he was in, both Super Bowls he was in. I mean, y'all, we've talked about this plenty, Rod. That Philadelphia Super Bowl was sabotaged by your head coach.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Your head coach decided not to play the best player on his team for the entire game for still an unknown reason.
I don't understand why Jack Jones didn't play last Sunday. It doesn't make sense to me, but
we still have not gotten a concrete reason of why Malcolm Butler did not step on the field for a single play against the Philadelphia Eagles while the Eagles were throwing for 500 yards and your best corner was kept on the sideline. There has never been an explanation for that.
I have a question, though, for you, Deets. Do you feel Antonio Gates is a first round?
Antonio Gates, absolutely.
Hall of Fame, you know what I mean? What you call it? First ballot Hall of Famer.
Antonio Gates is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay.
There's no question about that. He set the standard for what type for the new version of tight ends. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. You think of greatest tight ends of all time, he's probably second or third on the list.
Second?
Shannon Sharp is going to be way up. I would put Shannon first, Antonio Gates second.
I'm sorry, though. We're gonna have to debate that on Monday, but I got my boy over him, man. I got Gronk over him.
Oh, wait, Gronk
over Shannon Sharp, man.
Over. All right. Well,
and then I got what you call it, Kansas City's very own. What's the guy's name? Tony Gonzalez.
Tony. All right.
I got Shannon Sharp after that.
Wow. You put all right. You put Tegon over Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp was too good. He was too good for the era he played in. I like him. Shannon Sharp was setting records at tight end when tight ends were like an afterthought.
And then number 4 would probably be Antonio Gates. And then I gotta give credit to that's hard. Number 5. Number 5? I'll give it to the old man. Kellen Winslow Sr.
Kellen Winslow Sr. was a great he was before my time, but I mean, Air Coryell doesn't happen without Kellen Winslow. So not gonna get an argument there for me. I have Gronk third, and I have the same list, just different order. But what Antonio Gates did, he revolutionized the position. And so
my favorite Patriot tight end is Ben Coates.
Ben Winter Coates. Ben Winter Coates was getting 100 receptions when receivers weren't getting 100.
Ben Coates and Ben Watson, they're my 2 favorite.
Yeah,
unappreciated tight ends.
But you know why Ben Coates was getting all those receptions?
Why?
Because of his head coach, Bill Parcells. Bill Parcells loved tight ends more than anybody on his team. He loved the tight end. He found ways to get the tight end the ball.
Because Eddie Barrow, he was getting beat up for the Giants.
Mark Bavaro was one of the best tight ends you could play in 1986. 86, he was one of the best players on the Giants offense. And then in 89, 90. He was in that 90 Super Bowl. He was the big driving force in that offense. So yeah, Parcells loved tight ends. It's one of the reasons I love Parcells as a coach is he loved to get the tight end. He loved getting guys the ball who could just run over the other. He didn't worry about these speedy guys. It was get the ball and run the other guy over.
All right, Dees, it's time to get offline. I appreciate you coming on, man. I'll get up with you Monday.
Absolutely. Let's do it, everybody. Saturday, I'm going to settle it right now. Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Saturday at 1 o'clock, Fifth Down Sports.
Fifth Down will preview the playoffs and get you set up. We'll get you right into kickoff, and you can listen to our program. You can get us going and get you ready for everything that's going to happen on Saturday.
All right, we're out of here. See you later.